sure that you sign in the back. It's very important that we have your name on file. We need to know that you attended this session. The state does mandate that you go through some kind of a counseling session in order to allow your student to participate in this program. So by you signing in, we have proof that you were here and that you went through this session. We are also video recording the session tonight for anyone who cannot make it. That way we can email that recording out to all of them. Okay, so we're going to talk about a whole lot relating to CCP tonight. There's a whole lot of rules that you guys need to know. There's a whole lot of pros and cons. So we want to make sure that if you are signing your child up for this program, that you are aware of exactly what it is that you are signing up for. So the first thing is, can I participate? If your student is currently in grades 6 through 11, they are eligible to participate for next year. The program's open for 7th through 12th grade. So we have you sign up now for next school year, for the 18-19 school year. You can go to any public college or university in the state of Ohio and any participating private college. So this coming year, eligibility criteria has changed a little bit. In order to be eligible for the program, students have to score a certain score. There's a whole chart, which I'll show you. There's a bunch of different tests they can take, and they have to score in a certain range. So, Mr. Dursky, can you click on that first yellow link there? You have a copy of what he's clicking on in your packet. It's called Student Eligibility Assessment Testing. I'm not sure why it's not showing on our screen, but that's okay. You have a hard copy of it in your packet. So let me go to that. Okay, so you will see on the eligibility assessment testing page, it's a chart. You're going to see all the different exams that your student can take on the left-hand side. You're going to see the third column over the assessment threshold score. That's what they need to reach in order to be eligible to participate in this program in one particular subject area. So from what I'm hearing, like I said, it's new this coming year. I do not believe that they have to be eligible in every single area, just in the classes they want to take. So if they want to take a math class, for instance, they would have to meet that math sub-score. If they do not meet that third column, you can see on the right-hand side, if they're close to that cutoff score, they can be conditionally accepted. Now, that being said, if they're in that conditional last column on their scores, they have to have a cumulative GPA of 3.0, or they have to receive a recommendation. What we have decided as Oregon City Schools is that we are not going to give that recommendation if the student does not have a 3.0 GPA. We feel that in order to be college ready and really be successful in a class, we would have expected them to at least have a 3.0 here in Oregon City Schools. So for our students to be eligible, they have to either fall in that third category, or if they fall in that conditional fourth category, they have to have a 3.0 GPA. Oh, there we go. Okay, if you want to click out of that one and into the next yellow link, there is a flow chart that explains this a little bit more. This is the student eligibility process. This is also in your packet. So this explains that in step 1, the student must complete an assessment exam. And then it goes on and says, did they score college readiness, yes or no? If no, what do they need to do? If yes, what do they need to do? It just walks them through the entire process. It is a little bit confusing, so I thought that these charts would help you to make it a little bit clearer. Certainly, your school counselors can help walk you through this process, but it's something important for you to look over and have some idea of where your student falls. So you can see up there, the blue part is going to direct you what you need to do. The bottom part is once the student is eligible, and we know that they've met all those test scores, or they've met the conditional and the 3.0 GPA, then you move down to that next column where it's the admission to the college, and the students actually have to apply, which we will talk about here in a little bit. Oh, can move on to the next one.
PowerPoint?
Yes. Going back to that original can I participate slide, like I said, we will not give that recommendation if the student fails to have that 3.0 GPA. Please note that students cannot participate past their senior year in high school. So what that means is that you can start as a 7th grader, you can go through your expected senior year. We don't allow you to extend high school by failing a class, say, that's required for graduation, and then what should be your 5th year coming back and taking full-time CCP on Oregon schools. We wouldn't allow that. You're done after senior year. We won't allow you to do any more CCP. Next slide, please. So in order to enroll in the program, by April 1st of each year, so every single year that you want to be in this CCP program, you have to turn in an intent to participate to me. And I didn't introduce myself, I'm sorry. I'm Brandy Burr. I'm one of the counselors here at Clay High School, and I coordinate CCP for our district. So you can turn in that intent to participate to your counselor if you're at Facet or Eisenhower, or if you're at Clay, turn it in to me by April 1st of each year. You have a copy of the intent to participate form in your packet. It should be the very last paper. So that's what you're going to turn into your counselor if at the end of this you decide that you want your child to participate in this program for the following year. If you don't meet that April 1st deadline, your child will be excluded from participating in this program for the following school year. That doesn't mean they're excluded for the rest of their CCP career, it just means for that following school year they can't participate. I think there was some confusion at Eisenhower last year. They thought that if they didn't fill this form out tonight, they would never be able to participate in the program. That's not true. This form gets turned in every single year, so you have another opportunity every year to participate in this program. Turning this in does not make you tied into doing CCP. You can certainly change your mind, but you can't not turn it in and then change your mind later on and say, I think I want to do it now. It's too late. So I would encourage you, if you think at all that you might do CCP, turn the form in by April 1st. If you change your mind down the road, that's fine. You don't have to participate. It's not binding. So college classes can be taken, again, at any public college in the state of Ohio or at any participating private college. The majority of our students go to UT and Owens. We do have a couple that go to BG. We have UT here tonight and we have Owens here tonight. So at the end of my presentation, they will both have an opportunity to get up here and speak about their individual programs. You can also ask questions and they have some paperwork that they can give you as well. You may have to travel to the college where you've been admitted, or you may do online classes. So we have students who do full-time College Credit Plus on a college campus, and we don't see them at Clay High School at all. We have students who take one online class and stay at Clay High School the rest of the day, or at Facet the rest of the day. So it's very flexible. You can do whatever works best for your schedule. I would say the majority of our students probably do something in the middle, where they do maybe 2 classes at college and they do the rest here at Clay High School. Go ahead, Mr. Drisky. Okay, so who pays for all of this? It is completely free to you. So students attending a public college are not going to be charged for tuition or books that is covered by Oregon City Schools. However, students attending a private college may be charged. It just depends on the college and what their rates are. You all will receive textbooks as CCP students. They are free to you. However, you have to return them if you rent them, and this is something we'll explain to you as the process goes on if you enroll, but if you rent them, you have to return them back to the university bookstore. If you purchase them, you have to return them back to Oregon City Schools. If you don't, you will be charged for the cost of those textbooks, and some of the textbooks I've seen have been $400 and $500. So that's just an important note that if you're taking a textbook out through this program, make sure it gets back to the right spot because you don't want to be charged for that. You may be charged for small fees, things such as parking passes or ID badges. I don't think the colleges are charging right now, but that's something that Owens and UT might be able to explain a little further when they get up here. If there are any fees, they would be very small. There are 2 financial arrangements that you can do for College Credit Plus. I would imagine that 99.9% of you are going to, hello, was it working? I would imagine that 99% of you are going to take the one option here, so we'll talk about this. Option A is where students elect to take the course for college credit, and they have the financial responsibility for all tuition, books, materials, and fees. The district accepts no financial responsibility for these students. So I'm assuming that everybody sitting in this room probably is not very interested in option A. Credits earned under this option will not appear on the student's transcript here at the high school. Option B, which is what I'm assuming you're all here for, is where students can elect to take a college course for both high school credit and college credit, and all expenses will be paid by our district. Private colleges may charge a student a fee per credit hour, and again, the student is going to be responsible for that small fee. Remedial and religious courses are not allowed under option B. So you cannot go to the university and take a class that is not credit bearing and that's remedial and expect us to pay for it. It unfortunately does not work that way. You have to go into a credit bearing class and one that is non-religious. Under this option, if your student fails a course or drops the course after the deadline or adds a course after a set deadline, if you receive a withdrawal fail, an incomplete, a no credit, etc., the student does become responsible for paying for the cost of that class and the cost of the textbook. I will tell you that, unfortunately, every year we have students who fail our CCP classes. It's not that they're not academically ready, it's that they're biting off more than they can chew. They think that they are able to handle a course load here at Oregon City Schools and do extracurriculars and take on a CCP class, and they realize that A, it's either too much and they just can't do it, or they realize that it's an online class and they are teaching themselves and they have to be motivated to do all of the work on their own. They're now in a college setting with a professor who may give one assignment the entire year and then an exam at the end and isn't checking up on them weekly, isn't checking to see if they're making progress. They don't have the Clay High School teachers looking over their shoulders and looking at Power School and seeing grades. Parents don't have access to their grades. They don't know what they're working on unless their student shows them. So every year we end up with students who wait until the last minute on an online class and then realize that it's too much, they can't do it, and they end up failing that class because they weren't motivated to work on it. So this has affected athletic eligibility for some of our students. It has affected class rank for some of our students. It's affected a whole lot of things. So just make sure that if your student is doing CCP, you are staying on top of that student and you know exactly where they stand in that class and how much work they've put into it. So you don't want to end up in a situation where you're financially responsible for the book and for the class. Okay, so college credits. The way it works is that if you take a college class, which is 3 semester hours or more, which is what the majority of college classes are, it's going to equal 1 high school credit. So for instance, if you take Comp 1, which is a 3 credit hour course at Owens or UT, it is going to count for 1 full credit of language arts here. So a lot of our students will use that in place of, say, language arts 12. It would take the place of it, that 1 semester class. 3, 4, and 5 credit hour classes are going to equal 1 credit here. If you take a 2 semester hour class at the college, you're going to see 2/3 of a credit. And if you take a 1 semester hour credit, you're going to see 1/3 of a high school credit here. Yes?
So when you're saying, like, language arts 12 is a year long, and each are a half of credit, correct?
Each semester is a half, you mean? Yes.
Here at the high school?
Yes.
So if they take 1 comp class at the college level, that would give the whole credit?
Yes.
That would free that extra semester?
Yes. So the way that we do language arts here is a full year. We have first semester and second semester. You get a grade for each. If you take Comp 1, it would count for your entire year of language arts, which would free up that second semester. So we will have a lot of students that move on and do Comp 2 during that second semester then, just to get ahead on their college credit plus credits. Okay, and if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to raise your hand, because I'm sure other people will have that same question. Okay, high school credit and GPA. So students who enroll in that option B will receive the letter grade that's issued by the college, not the percentage. So we've had some students who come back and they said, wait, I had like a 92% and that should have been this. we don't look at the percentage, we look at the letter grade that the college issues, and that's what goes onto your high school transcript. The college grade will be computed in the high school GPA, just as if it was issued by our faculty. They'll show up right on your Clay High School transcript under this school year, or the next school year, as soon as we receive that official transcript from the college. So sometimes it does take several weeks for the college to send us that final semester transcript, so you may not see it showing up on your transcript for a couple of weeks until the semester's over. CCP classes are factored into the GPA on the highest grading scale that we offer. So if you are taking a social studies class at college, and we have a social studies class that's on the AP scale, you would be on the AP scale. If you are taking an art class where we don't have any honors or AP, it would be on the regular scale. CCP classes, this is an important thing to note, they will not factor into the quarter honor roll, so they may affect recognition in the newspaper and things like four-year honor roll. The reason for this is that we don't get quarter grades from the college. All we get is a final semester grade several weeks after the semester is over. So you will not receive quarter honor roll potentially if you are doing College Credit Plus. Okay, so credit limit. All students must be enrolled in at least 5 credits per school year. So that's any combination of Oregon City Schools classes and College Credit Plus classes. The school year for CCP purposes consists of summer and then fall and spring. So you can take CCP classes over the summer if you would like to. That's the beginning of the next school year for CCP. Total from 7th grade through senior year, students can take 120 college credits through the CCP program. You can knock over 120. If you do, you would become financially responsible for paying for those classes. You can earn 30 college credits per school year. So we have students right now who are doing full-time, and we had a student who did 15 first semester, signed up for 16 second semester, and I called him and said, you're going to be financially responsible for this last class, you're over the 30 hours, so he dropped it. So just make sure that you do not go over that 30 hours. Ultimately, that responsibility does lie on your student to make sure that they're not going over the 30. We as counselors obviously try to monitor that and make sure. The issue is that we have so many students that are in CCP, and we have no control over what classes you add and what classes you drop. You do that all through your college advisor. So just because we received a schedule from the college 10 days after you signed up, doesn't mean that that's what your schedule is 20 days into it. You may have dropped something, you may have added something, and we may not be aware of that because we don't have access to that unless the college sends it to us. So we hold you responsible for making sure you don't go over those 30 hours because we don't always know the updated number of credits that you're signed up for. So in any given school year, if you were to do full-time CCP, you can do 30 credit hours. Now if you do a combination of Clay High School classes and CCP classes, there's a formula that you have to follow. So what you would do is you would take the number of high school credits and you would multiply that by 3. So in this example, this student is taking American History, Language Arts 10, and Biology. 3 classes. So they would take 3 and you would multiply that by 3 to get 9. Then you take 30 minus that number. So 30 minus 9 equals how many credits are available at the college. Confusing, right? So you could have 21 credits through CCP in this particular instance. So again, this is something that the counselors for every single CCP student, we go through, we figure out how many credits you're taking here, how many you're taking at the college, making sure you're not going over. But again, because of those ever-changing schedules that we're not always privy to, this lies on you to make sure that you're not going over. So again, you figure out how many credits you're taking at the high school, multiply it by 3, and then you take that number and you subtract it from 30 to tell you how many credit hours you can do at any given year through CCP program. So any questions about that? Because I know that's confusing. Okay. College Credit Plus does not replace the requirements to earn your high school diploma. So it does fill in for classes, so like you can take comp and it counts as your Language Arts 11 or Language Arts 12 or whatever language arts you are doing at that time. However, it doesn't replace the requirements. You still have to get your 4 credits of English, your 4 credits of math, your graduation requirements remain the same as a student who's not doing College Credit Plus. This includes earning the 18 points on your Ohio State test. You still have to earn those points in order to graduate. Now that being said, you have to take the OST, the Ohio State test, you have to take that in English 1 and 2 and in algebra and geometry. You don't have a choice. Even if you are doing CCP, you have to take those Ohio State tests. Now you can substitute in, so biology, government, and American history, if you are enrolled in a College Credit Plus class, you don't have to take that OST. You can substitute in your grade for those CCP classes. That would count in as your OST. So on the next slide, it gives you a chart that explains it. Just in the following classes, so just American history, American government, and biology, if you were to get an A or a B through CCP, you would end up with 5 Ohio graduation points. If you were to get a C in the class, you would end up with 4 points. A D, you would end up with 3 points. And then nothing else is applicable. You wouldn't receive any other points because you failed the class. So those are the only 3 classes that you can substitute in and not take the Ohio graduation test. Okay, students can use college courses for credit toward high school, which we talked about. Again, however, it's the responsibility of the student to make sure that you're meeting the graduation requirements. So not only is it your responsibility to make sure that you're not going over the credit hours, but it's your responsibility to make sure that the classes that you're taking will substitute in. So for instance, we need economics here to graduate. So it's important that if you're taking a class that you think counts as economics, but you're not sure, run it past your school counselor, make sure that it will in fact substitute in for your graduation requirements. Again, because of those ever-changing schedules that we don't always see, we have students who will sometimes drop a class and then add something else without us knowing it, thinking it's going to substitute in, and it doesn't. So just make sure that any schedule changes you make, run it past your counselor. Before you drop a class, before you add a class, just make sure that you're doing the right thing and you're not hurting yourself for graduation. Once you are accepted by the college, you should schedule an appointment with the CCP advisor to develop a schedule. That schedule should then be given to your Oregon City Schools counselor as soon as possible so that we can make adjustments to your schedule here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So participation in the CCP program is contingent upon being admitted to the college. So you have to go through an application process. We will certainly help you in any way to make sure that you are getting what you need to be admitted into that college. We may have to provide transcripts or standardized test scores or other related documents. For every student that applies, the counselor has to go through it and do a whole list of documents and paperwork for you. Again, however, we're not going to accept responsibility for you being admitted. So we will help you, we will give you all the paperwork, we'll do what we need to do, but ultimately it's your responsibility to make sure that you're meeting the deadlines and that you're getting that paperwork in on your end. Students who are waiting to register for CCP need to create a Clay High School or Facet or whatever schedule. The reason for this, we make all students create a schedule here because every year we have several students who say, I'm definitely doing College Credit Plus, don't put any classes on my schedule here at Clay, I don't want any, I'm doing CCP. Then they register and they realize that they didn't make it into the program, or they register and they realize that they don't want the classes that they're eligible for, or they don't like the time slots they are. They change their mind and they come back to Clay and say, I want Clay High School classes put on my schedule. Well, now those classes are full, or they don't work in your schedule anymore. So really, you're hurting yourself if you don't create a Clay High School schedule. Create one, get the classes you want, and then if you go on to CCP, we can always change your schedule and drop those classes. But it's much easier to remove you from a class than it is to add you at the last minute. Okay, so we talked about this before, but in the event that a student withdraws from a college class, we are going to put you back into whatever Clay High School class you had scheduled here, and it is your responsibility to notify us. I cannot tell you how important that is, and that's why we have it in this PowerPoint several times, because every year we have at least a handful of students who withdraw from a class or drop a class and just don't tell us. So we have no idea. And it's very difficult. You know, the colleges are handling College Credit Plus for all the high schools in the area, so sometimes they're somewhat delayed in getting information to us. By the time that we get it, it's too late to get you re-enrolled into a class here at Clay High School, and all of a sudden you're missing a graduation requirement. So please, 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 any schedule changes, you need to let your counselor know right away. We will make every effort that we can to accommodate your needs and make sure that you are getting back into the classes you need. However, this is one of the biggest cons of College Credit Plus, is that you will be forced to make schedule changes, or schedule sacrifices, I should say. I will guarantee you that if you are participating in College Credit Plus, you will not be able to participate in everything that you want here at Clay. So a lot of our students will come and say, I want French 4, and I want Humanities, and I want Calc. Okay, but the problem is that maybe that's only offered 4th period or 7th period, and the only time that you can get into that College Credit Plus class is during that time. So you're going to have to make a choice. Do you want the class here at Clay, or do you want that College Credit Plus class? There are undoubtedly going to be conflicts in your schedule. You're going to have to make some sacrifices and some choices. We will not revise the master schedule or overload a teacher's roster in order to accommodate your schedule change. So just keep that in mind. It also can affect sometimes, you have to think about how many classes you're going to be able to fit in, because especially if you're going to the campus, you have to factor in driving time. So you have to leave here, you have to factor in driving to the campus, you have to factor in where you're going to find a spot to park, how long it's going to take you to walk into the building. All of that stuff you have to factor in. So you may only be able to take a couple of classes here, and the rest of the time is going to be devoted to driving to that university, parking, getting in, taking your class. So again, just keep that in mind. So in the CCP program, once you are admitted, you may take again any class that is not remedial or religious. The CCP advisor at the college is going to be the best person to advise you on what classes you need to take. We here at the high school, frankly, don't know a lot about the classes at the college. Every college has different classes, different prereqs, different classes that are recommended depending upon your major. That's not an area that we're really comfortable with or familiar with. So we would always refer you on to the CCP advisor to make your schedule at the college. Again, we will certainly do our best to help you decide what classes to take or to help you figure out which ones are going to fit your schedule, but we really don't give you any recommendations as far as which ones to sign up for, because we don't know based on your major and based on the particular college. Okay, so again, we bring this up a second time because again, this happens all the time and we need to make sure that you're very aware of what you're signing up for. Classes failed through CCP will receive an F on both the high school transcript and on your college transcript. And it will be computed into your high school GPA and your college GPA. So you really need to think long and hard about whether you're ready to take a college class. Because if you're going into this and you're not 100% prepared and you fail the class, that's on your permanent college transcript. That's not getting erased. It doesn't matter if you were in the 7th grade when you took that class and you failed, that's on your college transcript. It's not going away. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You have a 14-day window to withdraw from a class. So after the 14th day, once that 15th day hits, in those first 14 days, if you withdraw, there's no penalty. It doesn't show up as a W, it essentially just wipes away. If you withdraw starting on that 15th day, there's a window, and each college is a little bit different, but they have certain windows where you might be charged 80% of the class, and then for the next couple of weeks you might be charged for 60% of the class, so on. But that W will reflect on your high school transcript and your college transcript, but it will not be computed into your high school or college GPA. So the F's get factored in, the W's do not. However, you might be financially responsible for those W's. If you do not receive a passing grade, like I said, the district will seek reimbursement for the amount of the state funds that we paid for the class and for the amount of whatever book you have. We will hold all final transcripts and diplomas until that reimbursement has been made. So if you are a senior and you fail a second semester CCP class or multiple classes, we will hold your diploma, we will hold your transcript until you have paid us back for all of that, including the books. Then we will release everything to you. This is really important. If you sign up for CCP classes at the college, you have to attend. You can't just decide that in April you're going to apply and you're going to register and then over the summer think, I changed my mind, I don't want to do CCP anymore. You're going to be responsible for that class and you're going to fail that class if you don't show up after you register. you have to notify the college. If you change your mind and decide that you don't want to do CCP, you have to notify the college and let them know that you are no longer interested in doing that, and then they will wipe that away from your schedule. Otherwise, you will be responsible for that class. So college credits transferring after graduation. I think in UT and Owens, you guys might be able to help me more with this. I had this slide up here, and last year, one of the college reps told me that this slide is slightly outdated. I know this is the one that's on the Ohio Department of Education's website. It basically is a website that you go to that tells you if the classes that you're taking are going to transfer to another college. But I was told by one of the reps last time that there might be a better website. I don't know if you guys are aware of what that one might be.
Well, there's Transferology, another great website.
Okay.
We'll let them know exactly what class through each college and how it transfers.
Okay. So Transferology is a good one. That one will help you. You can type in the class that you're taking, and then you can look at the college you want to go to. So maybe you want to start out doing CCP at UT or at Owens, but that's not where you want to go after you graduate from high school. You can go to Transferology, is it .com? .org? I don't know. Okay, so Transferology.com, and it will let you know if those classes will transfer over to the university that you want to go to. Okay, perfect. So she said it does include out-of-state colleges as well. Okay, athletic eligibility and college credit plus. If you are a student athlete, you have to remain eligible to participate. In order to be eligible, you have to be passing 5 one-credit-hour courses, or the equivalent, each grading period. So most college credit plus classes that you take are 3 credit hours at the college. As we said, that counts for 1 full credit here at Clay High School. So really, it's kind of like earning double. So what I mean by that is that if you take, I think the best way to explain this. So most CCP courses that are taken during a semester are going to equal 1 unit here, which means that you're going to take probably more than what you need to be eligible. What I would encourage you to do, though, is to contact your athletic director, run the schedule past them, make sure that you have exactly what you need. Just know that at any given point, you need to have those 5 credits of classes on your schedule. Academic and social responsibilities with CCP. You are expected to follow the handbook, just like you would if you were a full-time Oregon City Schools student. We would expect you to follow our handbook and the college handbook. Once you are enrolled in the class, again, it's your responsibility to let us know what you're taking, let us know any schedule changes. We really need to have this happen before summer break and before winter break. So what that means is that we really want you to go through this application process, which we'll talk about in a minute, get applied, get your schedule put together, and get us a copy of that schedule before summer break. The reason for that is that after we leave for summer, we're no longer here and available to adjust your schedule. So if you wait until the summer to create your CCP schedule, and then you come back in the fall, at that point we've had a lot of new students that have come in, we've built schedules, classes may be full. I would really encourage you to get those CCP schedules built as soon as possible so you're not getting locked out of any classes. We don't permit you to remain on CHS campus time if you don't have a CHS class. So what that means is that if you're doing CCP and you don't come to Clay until 3rd period, we don't want you sitting in the hallway for 1st and 2nd period because you're not being held accountable for where you are, we don't know where you are, so you're not eligible to be here. We do have some students who don't have transportation, so they'll sign up for a study hall in the beginning of the day or end of the day, and they'll work on a CCP class during that time. That's fine because you're actually assigned to a study hall with a teacher in a particular room, so we can hold you accountable for where you are. Participation in CCP does not guarantee that you're going to be admitted to that college. So just because you got into UT for CCP and did a couple of classes, don't automatically assume that you are admitted there to be an undergraduate freshman. You would have to go through the undergraduate application process for whatever college you are doing CCP through. Selective service. This just became an issue for us this year. It was the first time that we had experienced this. Under the Ohio Revised Code, a male student who is 18 years old has to be registered with the Selective Service. If that student does not register within 30 days, they will not be considered a CCP participant for that current semester, and they're going to be responsible for all tuition, textbooks, and fees associated with the class. So we had Owens call us several times this year, and they're like, this kid did not apply, we're emailing them, we're calling them, we can't get a hold of them, they're going to be responsible, and these students were full-time students who would have been responsible for thousands of dollars. So please make sure if you have a boy who's going to be 18, you get them registered with Selective Service so that you do not become financially responsible for those CCP classes. Okay, when you are on the college campus, you might see a variety of support services for you. So there are things like computer labs and career development labs. There's going to be advising, tutoring, use of library, possibly math labs, writing labs. You would have access typically to the rec facilities, campus events, sporting events. The colleges might talk a little bit more about that when they come up here. But please note that you are still an Oregon City School student. So even if you are full-time at the college, you are not a UT student. You are a Clay High School student. So that means that you are not eligible to participate in student clubs. You can't join a fraternity or a sorority. You are still a Clay High School student, okay? And we've had students that have tried, so. Okay, so we're going to talk about the pros and cons of CCP. To me, as a parent myself, I feel like this is the most important part of this presentation, is that you understand what the pros are and what the cons are, because this really is a big decision. The pros, obviously, for me, is that the cost. It is free college credit. We know how expensive college is, so free credits are huge, right? This could potentially reduce how long students are going to college. You can take semesters off, you can take years off of your college by participating in this program for free, because you're counting both the high school and the college credit at the same time. Another pro is that you can take courses that might not be available at the high school. So UT obviously can provide a whole lot more courses than Clay High School can, so you have more opportunity. You experience more diversity. So you're going to have students of all different backgrounds, ages, and beliefs on a college campus. However, I note that this could be a con as well. If you have a student who is in 7th grade and is sheltered and who is now going to this college campus and they're surrounded by 21, 22-year-olds and they might not be what you would want your child to be around. So just keep that in mind, that if they go to the college campus, it can be a positive because they're going to see a lot of different things that they may not see here. Well, that could be a con too. So, also, a potential pro is that they have the ability to take online classes, which means that they have some flexibility in their schedule. They can take the classes that work for them at the times that it works for them. As I talked about before, this can also be a negative because they are taking online classes where they are responsible for the content of that class, teaching themselves, getting their assignments in on time, which is a lot of responsibility for a young student. We're going to talk about cons now. Unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot more cons than there are pros, so I want to make sure that you're aware of all these things. Students who attend classes on a college campus are removed from the Oregon City School environment. So you're not hearing announcements. You're not going to pep rallies, potentially. You are not in stride where you're getting intervention and enrichment time. You're not sitting at lunch with your friends. So a lot of times these students become very removed and they don't know what's going on. They miss cap and gown order. They miss their Johnson's ring orders. They miss all of that stuff because they don't know. So we ask you, if you are not here all day long, check in with your counselor on a regular basis to see what you missed so that you're not missing something that's really important to you. Students taking on-campus classes have to provide their own transportation. So your 16, 17, 18-year-old student is driving to and from school every single day. And mind you, UT and Owens and BG, they don't close, they don't delay, typically, on snowy days. So these students are going to be expected to be in school on those days. So on a day when it's too bad for your kid to come to Oregon schools, they're going to have to drive to UT or BG or wherever they're taking those classes. So keep that in mind. That's definitely a con for me. Students have to abide by the college yearly calendar. So a lot of times, spring breaks are different, Christmas breaks are different. So you may be planning a family vacation and realize that your student has class that week because they have a different week off than the rest of your family. There may be reduced opportunities for students to participate in extracurricular activities. I have several students who try to build a CCP schedule and get all their CCP classes in the morning so they can come back here in the afternoon for sports or whatever clubs they're involved in, but they can't fit those classes in the mornings. They have to do an afternoon schedule, which then sometimes will make them choose, do I want to do CCP or do I want to participate in this sport or club? Also, students, like I said before, they will have to make schedule sacrifices. There is no way to get them into every advanced class they want here and fit in those CCP classes. It just unfortunately cannot happen. There could be increased student responsibility for learning because there's a whole lot less instructional time and guidance. These college professors do not know who their CCP students are in their class. So when they have an online class, they don't know if it's a 7th grader or a 22-year-old taking that class. They treat them all the same. So keep that in mind that they're going to hold these kids very responsible. They're not going to hold their hands and cradle them. They're going to treat them like any other college student. So that sometimes can be overwhelming to some of our younger students when they're not used to taking responsibility and having to do all the assignments on their own and do all the research on their own and turn everything in and not have any guidance from their professors. Some of our kids don't know who their professors are, have never talked to them. They're sitting in a lecture hall and they don't know who their professor is, so just keep that in mind. Students may be exposed to coursework that is geared toward adult learners. So we have some art classes, for instance, where they draw nudes. So you may not want your child in a class like that. So just keep in mind that sometimes the college level, what they're experiencing in those classes is going to be much more mature than what they are experiencing here in Oregon schools. Students' loan and scholarship eligibility could be limited depending on how many hours they've completed and their GPA. I would encourage you, this is an area that I'm really not familiar with, so I would encourage you to talk directly to the CCP advisors about this at the colleges because they will have a whole lot more information about that than I do. The Oregon City School Counselors are not always given access to CCP information. So sometimes we will get grade updates, which is great, but there's a lot of professors who don't give grade updates. So we are just as in the dark as you are. We have no idea what the kid receives until they receive it. So here at Clay, we can check their Power School on a weekly basis. We can see those grade updates. We can keep on top of it. We can't do that for them at the college level. They're kind of on their own. So a lot of times we will receive a transcript and we'll be shocked because they received a D or an F and we didn't even know that that was an option for them. So just keep that in mind. And then again, as we said several times, we will seek financial restitution for the cost of the course and the book. A quick note for seniors, the Clay High School counselors, we will receive a copy of your CCP grades. We'll put all of those on your final transcript. However, in order for your CCP credits to transfer to a different college, so let's say you go to Owens for CCP and then you decide to go to Akron after you graduate, you have to request your transcript to be sent from Owens to your new college. We cannot do that for you. We don't have access to your college transcript to be sent anywhere, so that is your responsibility. Okay, so after hearing all of the pros and cons and a little bit about the program, if you're interested, the only step that you have to do right now is you would have to fill out the intent to participate form, which is the last form that's in your packet. You would fill that out, read through it, sign it, student signs it, get it to your school counselor by April 1st. Again, if we don't have it by April 1st, you cannot participate in the program next year. Again, if you turn it in to us and decide you don't want to participate, that's fine. We'll just file it away, no problem. But get it in to us if you're interested. That's really the only step you need to worry about right now. What will happen is once we receive those intent to participate, we will collect them and we will start meeting with your students individually to talk about what their options are, what college they might want to go to. We will walk them through step by step what they have to do for the application process. As far as I know, the applications are not live for the colleges, right? At this point? I want to say, did they not go live until like March? Do you know? Yeah. So you have time. So don't feel like you have to get this form in right away. Take it home, think it over. There's plenty of time there, okay? But like I said, once those come in, and don't worry, if you turn it in tonight, that's fine. You're welcome to sign it and turn it in to me. But don't expect us to meet with your student right away because the colleges don't have all of their stuff even updated yet and nothing's live for next year. So there's not a whole lot we can do at this point. We'll probably have to wait a couple more weeks before all of that happens. Okay. Once we sit with the student and go through all the steps, we will show them how to apply online for the College Credit Plus program. We will fill out all of our paperwork on our end, get it all sent in, and then at that point, the college will notify you guys whether you've made it into the program or not. So some of our high school students will have already had ACT scores or SAT scores that will be sent on the transcript, so they might automatically be eligible because of those scores. Or you might have to take a test, so the college will let you know what that looks like and what their testing center, their hours, and when they're open, and when you can go in and take some of those tests. So what I would like to do now is have Owens and UT come on up and talk a little bit about their particular programs and answer any questions that you might have for them specifically. Yeah. So we will start with UT.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam Lee. I'm one of the admission counselors at the University of Toledo. We do have our own department that covers all of our CCP stuff, so you will have an advisor that is assigned to you once you start our CCP program. I'll keep my little presentation here short because I know you've gotten a lot of information. The main thing we like to stress at the University of Toledo is that accountability piece. We really want students to be both academically prepared for the classes, but also be aware of some of the content that they're going to be receiving. Our professors do not give out any warnings for the content that they cover in classes, and they don't censor any of the material that they cover. So it's a very important element to College Credit Plus, just making sure you are in fact ready for a lot of the material that will be covered. Something that sets the University of Toledo apart when it comes to College Credit Plus is that we have an advisor that is assigned to students as well as a success coach. The advisor is going to be the person that makes sure that you basically have all of your classes signed up and you hit all those steps that we referred to earlier in her presentation. A success coach is going to be someone on our campus that is your go-to person to link you to all of the resources that are available to you as a student at the University of Toledo. That can, again, mean a variety of different things, but the best way that I can word it is a success coach is someone on our campus that has your back, for lack of better words. They're going to be your go-to contact, again, to link you to everything that's available to you throughout the University of Toledo's campus. Again, I have all of those materials towards the back. Please come see me on your way out, grab a few of them. That'll cover all of the next steps, our admission requirements, all those important things that you're going to need to know for our College Credit Plus. Last thing I'll say too, I know she touched on this a little bit, but we do, for the test scores, we will allow students, if you don't qualify in a certain area, whatever your test scores do qualify you to take at a college level in a specific subject area, will allow you as a student to take at the University of Toledo. Thank you again.
Hi everyone, my name is JJ. I'm also an admissions representative at Owens Community College. And just a couple of things that I just also would like to point out, and I think that we've stressed this as much as we can, is the academic level that the students will be going into. These are college level classes. They have to be prepared for it. And the other thing is they have to be responsible to make sure that they're doing all of the steps that they need to do. Just a perfect example, I had a student just a month ago who never dropped his classes. And so he's receiving Fs in all of his classes, which is lowering his GPA, and then he's lost 3 of his scholarships for his first year of college. So this is a situation where mom can't call for him, dad can't call for him. The child, the student, is responsible to notify the college if there are changes to the schedule. So if they have to drop a class, they can't just call the school counselor here at the high school. They have to talk to their CCP advisor, and they have to make sure that that's not going to affect them in the long run. So that's one of the main things. The other thing is that our CCP advisors will work with them one-on-one, help them register for it, and we also have their back, and they walk them through all of the steps that they need to have, but we want them to be responsible and ready to take these classes. Now, if their ACT scores have been submitted and they still prefer to take our placement exam, that's fine, but they can only take it twice. So they can't take it 5 times to try and get a better score to get them qualified for it. So they have to be prepared and ready to do this. Luckily, our parking is only $18 a semester.
Yeah.
Someone who's freaking out on me. So luckily, our parking's only $18 a semester for students that are full-time. If they're only taking partial credits, they're not going to be charged as much. So luckily, they don't have to pay a lot of extra expenses with us. But we do want them to have a college experience as well. It's great when they can take the classes here, which is fantastic, but if they are interested in taking classes on campus, as she mentioned, weather can be a factor. We don't always close. We're delayed maybe once in a great while. So it's one of those situations that they have to sort of be prepared for that responsibility. Other than that, we would encourage students to talk to us and at least look into it. It never hurts to ask questions. We're here to give that information to you, and our advisors will work with them one-on-one and make sure that all of their questions are answered. So if you have any questions, please feel free to take one of our packets in the back. We have red folders that have all of our information in there. Contact information for all of our CCP advisors are in there. There's 2 CCP advisors that work with these students, and their contact business cards are in those packets. So please feel free to take one on the way out. If you have any additional questions, please let us know. Thank you.
I just want to add one last thing just for like 30 seconds here. As far as the rigor goes, this is my own personal opinion. Our honors and AP level classes here at Clay High School, I personally believe are much more rigorous than the Comp 1s and Comp 2s at the college. We have students all the time who go to college and they're like, this is so much easier than what I just came out of. I came out of humanities, this class is a breeze. So just kind of keep that in mind, that if you're really looking for that rigor, I highly encourage you to stay in the honors and AP classes here. Maybe take a couple electives, take some classes you're interested in through CCP, but you may want to stay on that honors track. That being said, a lot of students will also, depending on their AP scores, can test out of some of the comp classes. So sometimes our advanced students will go and take Comp 1, Comp 2, and then they realize that possibly they could have tested out of those classes. So that's just another thing to consider when you're signing up for classes, to just really think about the rigor here and what you want for your child. Are there any questions? Yes? So that'd be a question for the advisors of the colleges. I'm not sure what the absolute last date is. Do you guys have a set date of when they can get their test scores in to be eligible?
At the University of Toledo, we have a soft deadline, typically it's around May 1st, that we'll want you to have all those things submitted by. However, as much as we can, we'll work with students to extend that if, for whatever reason, there happens to be reasoning that requires that you have that information.
Owens as well, we let students to do our guidance blister of universal resource start, so maybe they need to take a participant exam. But we also have the next soft deadline of May 1st, we want students to be well prepared prior to moving all these classes. We want to make sure that we've got the right level of schedule for them. But we will work with any student that needs to make sure that those things they have one.
So it's a good idea by May 1st to have everything in and done. Any other questions? Okay. So again, next up, you can turn in your intents tonight if you want to, or you can wait and turn it in anytime until April 1st. Thank you guys.